70-80 students must be there. So anyhow, we can start the discussion, and we will first look at the course outline. And the subject name, I think you know, that is Management Information Systems. And I am Dushanta Kulatunga, and there will be another lecturer joining, Dr. Maheshwanandu. And so the course description says the objective of this course is to give students a broad understanding of the development, implementation, and management of information systems. So we will be looking at different areas of information systems like development, implementation, and management. This course focuses on 5 major areas of information systems: foundation concepts, information technologies, business applications, development processes, and management challenges. So basically, I think we will be covering about 8 or 9 chapters during this course. And those 9 chapters will fall into these particular 5 areas identified here. Then there are 3 learning outcomes which we want to achieve at the end of this particular course. And so at the end of the course, students should be able to explain the basic concepts and vocabulary of management information systems, the role of information systems in organizations, how to use and manage information technologies to revitalize business processes, to improve them, to improve decision making, and to gain competitive advantage. So basically, we will be looking at the basic concepts behind MIS and how the information systems are used in organizations, and then how we can revitalize and improve the business processes, business decision making, utilizing information systems and technologies, and also how we can gain competitive advantage through information systems and technologies. So we have given a week plan here. There are 13 weeks in your term, and so one week is allocated for group assignment presentations. So we will be conducting lectures during the other 12 weeks, and I will be starting with chapter 1, that is foundations of information systems in business, which will be continued in the second week also. And I will be starting with chapter 2, that is competing with information technology in week 2, and that will be completed in week 3. So then I will move on to e-business system. That is also somewhat a smaller chapter. That is chapter 7 from the particular textbook. And I will finish it on week 4. And thereafter, Dr. Mahesh will be taking 2 lectures. Chapter 5, data resource management, and chapter 8, enterprise business systems. I think there will be some sort of practical applications involved in data resource management chapter. So we will have to think about how we can handle it if we continue with the online sessions. Then I will be coming back in week 7 for chapter 9, that is electronic commerce systems, and that will be continued on week 8. And then we have temporarily fixed this quiz. That is basically a midterm quiz under which we will be covering the content covered up to the week 6. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chapters covered by week 6, and that will be tested during this particular quiz, and I will discuss about it in detail later. And then week 9, security and ethical challenges. So those final 4 sessions will be done by Dr. Mahesh. Chapter 10, decision support systems. Chapter 11, developing business IT strategies. Chapter 12, developing business IT solutions. So as I mentioned earlier, group 13 is allocated for group assignment presentations, and we will be giving you a group assignment later. And so you can attempt on that one. And this is again a temporary allocation of marks. End semester examination 50%, continuous assessment 50%. Now this is the norm accepted in the faculty and also in our MBA program. And a quiz is scheduled for May 9th, that is Sunday. So you can earn 20% for that, and group assignment 30%. And even though I think when it comes to your schedule, I think your last lecture will be on 19th, I think 19th of May, if I remember correctly. But the weekday batch, I think, finishes it somewhere around 8th of May. So we will be basically giving you the group assignment on the same day to both batches. And so therefore, by May 8th, we will be taking the presentations of the weekday batch. So therefore, we have fixed a deadline for submission for both groups as 2nd May. So you can maybe work on that one after the assignment is given. And so basically the content covered up to a certain point will be included in the particular group assignment. So we will design the group assignment based on what we have covered up to that particular point of time. Then a half an hour quiz that is scheduled for 27th of it says 9th of May, sorry. Yeah, that has to be corrected. I think this is 27th. I think this should be 27th. Anyhow, I will come up with a confirmation. So you will be allocated 20 marks, and as highlighted here, this will be conducted physically at the university as multiple choice questions examination. And so that depends on the prevailing conditions at that particular time, somewhere around 27th of March. And if the quiz cannot be held physically, the composition of marks allocated for continuous assessment will be revised and notified later on. So that is why I mentioned this is a temporary allocation of marks, especially for continuous assessments. And if we cannot conduct the quiz, and we may have to think about or rethink about how to allocate continuous assessment marks. And group assignment, the maximum number of members that can be included in a group will be 5 members. And so better to form groups consisting of members around 4 or 5, and don't come up with individual assignments. And we are not encouraging it at all. Under very, very exceptional circumstances, we may accept such requests, but so we are basically focusing on a group assignment. So we will be giving this one maybe in the coming weeks, so that you can maybe start working on the particular assignment after that. So we are focusing, or we are utilizing this particular book, and written by these 3 authors, Management Information System. Here we are utilizing the 9th edition, but 12th edition printed in 2018 is also available. I think this is the one which is available in our library right now. Okay, that is about the course outline and the content covered and the assessment that will be done during the examination, during the course. Sorry, is there any question which you had raised now?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. I think if you have any question regarding the course outline, you can raise it later on also. Okay, so we will move to chapter 1 and we will not finish chapter 1 as indicated in the course outline, and we will stop halfway and continue it during the next week. And chapter 1 title is Foundations of Information Systems in Business. So we are going to look at the foundations of information systems which are used in business organizations, so which will be vital for most of you. Some of you may have some understanding about it by now, and some of you may have followed MIS courses in your previous maybe degree programs or other programs. So anyhow, if you have not used this particular textbook, so the approach that will be utilized in this particular course will be somewhat different. So there are about, I think, 5 or 6 learning objectives which will be addressed during this particular chapter. First one, understand the concept of a system and how it relates to information systems. We will be looking at what we mean by a system in general, and then we are going to relate it to information systems. Explain why knowledge of information systems is important for business professionals, and I think most of you working as business professionals. And then we are going to look at why the knowledge of information systems is important for you. Give examples to illustrate how business applications of information systems can support. Now we are going to look at the business applications of information systems, because we are looking at the utilization of information systems in businesses. So therefore, we will be focusing on the business applications of information systems, which can be utilized by an organization to support different purposes, like for business processes, managerial decision making, and strategies for competitive advantage. So we will be going into details in these particular areas. Provide examples of information systems from your experiences with business organizations in real. So again, during the particular chapter, or maybe at the end of the chapter, you should be able to come up with some examples from your own experiences in your business organizations. Identify challenges that a business manager might face in managing the successful ethical development and use of information technology. And now when we use information systems inside the organizations, we may face a variety of challenges. We may face certain ethical issues as well. So we have to have some understanding about the particular issues that we may face when we use information systems and information technologies within the organizations. The last objective is provide examples of components of real-world information systems. So we are going to look at components of real-world information systems. I think at the maybe initial stages of this particular chapter also, we may be focusing on those components, but I think we are not specifically identifying them at the beginning, but towards the latter part of the chapter, we are going to highlight the specific components of real-world information systems. So those are the 6 learning objectives that will be addressed during this particular chapter. So I think you have some idea about what we are going to discuss during this particular chapter. And with that in mind, we can move forward. Okay. So we are starting with foundation concepts. We start with the question, why study information systems and information technology? So I think you can remember that under one learning objective, also we mentioned the importance of, we need to know the importance of studying information systems and information technology as business professionals in organizations. So we are going to focus on that particular aspect first under foundation concepts. IS and IT are vital components of successful businesses. Now today, I think you know that for most of the organizations, IT and IS are vital components, and without information systems and without information technologies, most of them cannot conduct their day-to-day operations. So we are going to look at why they are important for business organizations. So because it can be utilized by organizations for different aspects, which were identified under one learning outcome also. There were 3 aspects identified here. So we are focusing on those 3 aspects here as well. So we need to know about IT and IS, and they are considered as important components of organizations because they can help businesses expand and compete. So they can help business organizations to expand their operations and compete with their competitors in a more effective manner. Then improve efficiency and effectiveness of business processes. Every organization has different types of business processes, and also they have a number of business processes within their business organizations. So by utilizing information systems and information technologies, they are in a position to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of the particular business processes. So these are 2 terms, I think, which you have learned in other courses also. But again, we will be looking at what we mean by improving efficiency and improving effectiveness by utilizing information systems and technologies. Facilitate managerial decision making and work group collaboration. So by utilizing IS and IT, we can facilitate managerial decision making, or we can support managerial decision making. So that is one aspect, and also we can facilitate work group collaboration. So today, when it comes to organizations, so they may have to work as groups, so there may be certain groups formed for pursuing maybe different again processes or different goals of the organization. So there can be certain groups formed or teams formed for achieving certain objectives or goals, and we can utilize information systems and technologies to support their collaboration, the work group collaboration. Then, so those are 3 main important aspects which are facilitated by information systems and technologies, and that is why they are considered as vital components of organizations or successful businesses. IS and IT strengthen the competitive positions of businesses in rapidly changing marketplaces. Now, this is another important aspect which was highlighted in a learning outcome also. IS and IT can strengthen the competitive positions of businesses in rapidly changing marketplaces. Now, the marketplaces, I think you know, are not static and they are dynamic. They change very frequently, and the competitors change their strategies, and new competitors may come into markets with new technologies. So competing with other competitors is not an easy task. But information systems and information technologies may give some strength for organizations to compete with other competitors in a more effective manner. So therefore, that is also an important aspect when it comes to information systems and technologies. Continuing with foundation concepts, if we are to understand information systems and their functions, we first need to be clear on the concept of a system. Now, information system is also identified as a system. The term thing is included there also. So, but we better have some understanding about what we mean by a system in general. So then we can relate it to information systems. In its simplest form, a system is a set of interrelated components. So this is one important aspect. A system is always a set of interrelated components. There will be basically two or more components included in a particular system. If there are there is no two or more components, it cannot be considered as a system also. So with a clearly defined boundary. So any system should have a particular defined boundary. So the particular system will operate within that particular boundary. So it cannot cross the particular boundary. And working to achieve a common set of objectives. So when we form a particular system, or when we develop a particular system, we will be having certain objectives to achieve. So therefore, those are some three important aspects which we can identify in a system. It's a set of interrelated components. Those are not isolated and independent components, and they are interrelated components which are connected to each other. And it has a boundary, it has a defined boundary, and also it focuses on achieving a particular objective or a set of objectives. So those are the basic aspects of a system which we can identify. Okay, is there any question on the foundation concepts before moving further? Yeah, okay. Okay, now we are going to relate the particular system understanding that we have, or the system definition that we identified earlier, to an information system. An information system can be any organized combination of people, hardware, software, communication networks, data resources, and policies and procedures. Now, these are the components that we can identify in an information system. As we highlighted earlier, any system should have a set of interrelated components. So what are the interrelated components which we can identify in an information system? They are people, hardware, software, communication networks, data resources, and policies and procedures. So they are interconnected components which will work together to achieve some objectives for the organization, for an organization. So what are the objectives? So we may want to store certain data for future use. We may want to retrieve certain data that has already been stored within the databases. And we may want to transform existing data into information. So that may also be facilitated by information systems. And also we may want to disseminate information that we have generated among employees within the organization. So those are the objectives that we want to achieve by utilizing information system, but there is no boundary defined here. But there is a boundary for any information system. Depending on the type of information system, the boundary can change. And so if it is say payroll system, so it is basically restricted to processing the salaries of employees. So there can be different other say functional systems used in organizations, like some sales systems, so some accounting systems, or finance systems, or production systems, and so on. So there will be some limited scope for the particular system. So that is the boundary for the particular system, but there can be some other information systems like enterprise resource planning systems, so which may have an expanded boundary connecting an organization with external parties as well. So, but even if it is not connecting with external parties, if we consider an ERP, it will basically cover almost all business processes within an organization. So the boundary can be again the organization. But when it comes to a payroll or maybe a sales system or accounting system, the boundary can be very, very limited. So, but as I mentioned earlier, so depending on the type of information system, boundary can change. Okay, I think this is clear to you. And also, I think our last learning outcome or objective was related to components of information systems. And these are some of the components which we can identify in an information system. So these will be highlighted later on as well, but here we have not classified them into different aspects, but ultimately we will be classifying them into 5 major areas. Then, okay, we are moving to fundamental roles of information systems in business. Now, before that, is there any question here? I think no.
No, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah, okay. Right, thank you. Yeah, we'll move to the next subtitle, fundamental roles in information systems in business. So we are going to look at the particular aspects again that we highlighted earlier as well. Although there are a seemingly endless number of software applications. Now, when it comes to today's organization, we may not be in a position to count the number of software applications that is used that are used in an organization. So there can be hundreds of different software applications that are used in most of the organizations. But even though there are large number of software applications used in organizations, here it says there are 3 fundamental reasons for all business applications of information technology. So there are 3 fundamental reasons as to why we utilize this information system. So why we utilize this software application. So why we utilize this information technology. So what are those 3 fundamental reasons? Support of, so we are utilizing those software applications in support of business processes and operations. And we are utilizing them in support of decision making by employees and managers. We are utilizing those software applications in support of strategies for competitive advantage. So those are the 3 fundamental reasons. So 3 primary reasons. Most of the organizations utilize information systems, so information technologies, so software applications in their organizations. So you can think about your own organization also, and most probably you may see that the organization utilize those software applications to achieve one of these 3 or maybe a combination of them. Now, what do you think? Can you identify any other major reason as to why you utilize information systems or software applications in your organization? You can analyze in detail and see, and most probably you should find that the organization focuses on achieving one of these three maybe objectives when utilizing software applications. Yeah. The line is not clear to me.
So, what is the difference between IS and IT? Both are same, or is there any division?
Here we are not giving a definition, but information systems are basically we are referring to the software applications used for achieving those things. So basically, in organizations as business professionals, you are utilizing the software applications or information systems. But behind that, there may be different technologies that are utilized within the organization. And so the information systems are basically running on different information technologies, which is the backbone which forms the infrastructure to operate these software applications.
Okay, thank you, sir.
So, excuse me, adding another same kind of question.
Yeah.
So, is there any difference in between MIS and IS?
We can't identify any specific, different maybe authors utilize different terms, but here basically we are focusing on the utilization of information systems by business professionals or managers or employees within organizations. So, so the focus is that. So when it comes to information systems in general, so that can mean some general users. But here basically we are focusing on the business application of those information systems and how they are utilized by those employees and managers within the organizations.
Okay, so thank you.
There is a question that is not clear to me. So most probably, I think we can discuss about this particular question after studying a couple of chapters, so that you will have a better understanding about it. So, yeah.
Sir?
Yeah.
Sir, I think we can't consider computer games under IT or IS. So, in which category we have to consider computer games?
I think now games can be identified as a separate category. No? Now, when it comes to information systems, we are primarily focusing on systems that produce some sort of information, which are especially utilized for decision-making purposes. Now, when it comes to games, I think they are not producing information which we can utilize for some decision-making purposes.
That is one of computer type of computer application, no, sir? Games, sir?
Yeah, it can be identified as under a separate category. Yeah, one of the applications, yes. Now, as we highlighted earlier, now when it comes to an information system, I think we gave a definition earlier on. We said that we utilize these particular, say, components in order to store, retrieve, transform, and disseminate information. So when it comes to an information system, the primary output that we will be looking at is information. So information will be processed in different ways. We may be storing, retrieving, transforming, disseminating, and so on. So that is the general understanding that we should have in relation to information systems. Okay, I think we can continue with the discussion. Same thing, I think we said that there are three fundamental reasons for utilizing software applications, so information systems within organizations. And that is elaborated in the next diagram also. These are the three primary reasons. And there will be some connection between these particular objectives. Those are not, again, isolated objectives of organization, supporting business processes and operations, which may help in relation to supporting business decision making and also supporting strategies for competitive advantage. So this particular one even support the achievement of competitive advantage for organization, and also in between it can support business decision making, and also business decision making itself can support the achievement of competitive advantage. But there can be certain other application that we may utilize specifically aiming at achieving competitive advantage for organizations. So, but one thing that we can highlight here is that supporting the strategies for competitive advantage. Now, rather than telling the software applications are directly supporting the achievement of competitive advantage, here the authors have specifically inserted this particular term, supporting the strategies for competitive advantage. Now, why do we write like that? Because the generally accepted, I think, concept is that when it comes to the achievement of competitive advantage, so that is achieved through the strategies. So we formulate strategies to achieve competitive advantage. So then we can utilize these information systems or software applications or different other technologies to support the particular strategies, so which will in turn help us to achieve competitive advantage. So therefore, so this is something that you have to remember. So basically, we will be utilizing information systems to support the strategies which are aimed at achieving competitive advantage. I think you have learned about strategies by now, or maybe you are following the marketing course in parallel to this one, no?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you may identify some strategies there. I don't know whether in certain other courses also you have identified them. But during this particular course also, we will be looking at certain strategies and how we can utilize those strategies to achieve competitive advantage, and also how we can support the particular strategies with information systems. Now, this one elaborates the trends in information systems, so how information systems have evolved over the past several decades. starting with 1950s and 60s, where the first generation of computers were utilized by organizations for their commercial purposes. So there the organizations focused on something called data processing. They wanted to process data utilizing the computers, which they had during this particular time. So then the system that were utilized were categorized as electronic data processing systems. Sorry. And they were utilized for transaction processing, record keeping, and traditional accounting application. And most of the organizations actually utilized their computers during this particular period for processing the accounting transactions. So most of the applications that were utilized within the organizations were accounting applications. There was one primary reason as to why organizations utilized or developed accounting application during this early era. So that is due to the structured nature of transactions involved in relation to accounting. The structured nature of transactions, or the transaction which can be predefined. So we can define in advance how the particular transactions take place. There will not be any deviation after that. So when the particular transactions happen in a structured manner or in a predefined manner, developing software applications is very, very easy. So that is why the organizations focused on accounting applications first during the early era of introduction of computers into organizations. Then by around 1960s and 60s, they focused on something called management reporting. So then the management information systems emerged within the organizations, and management reports of predefined information. Now here, these two terms are very, very vital. Predefined information to support decision making. Now, for decision making, I think you require information. Now, information can be of two types. One is predefined information. Other ones are not predefined information. It can be some sort of ad hoc information. So depending on the circumstances, you may require certain information which you can't predefine in advance. So, but there can be some information requirements which you can predefine. Suppose if it is a sales report, which you have to generate at the end of each day to identify sales made by each sales person. So that is predefined information. And also if it is payroll will come up with predefined information. At the end of the month, it will come up with some predefined information. It can be related to total pay or the total deductions, total allowances paid, or total other incentives given, something like that. There can be some predefined information which you can derive from certain systems. So those are the things that were focused under management information systems, predefined information. Then during 70s and 80s, decision support was the focus, and the system that facilitated that requirement was decision support systems. So it facilitated interactive ad hoc support of the managerial decision making. So as I mentioned earlier, when it comes to decision making, there can be some predefined information which you can utilize. But there can be instances where you can't rely completely on predefined information. You require some ad hoc information. Ad hoc information are the ones which you can't predefine. And you don't know in advance that this particular or these particular information are required. So then decision support system basically allow the managers of an organization to interact with the particular system to generate some information. So the interactive feature is included here. Here, the interactive feature is not included. Now, at the end of a particular period of time, the the management information system is capable of automatically producing the particular predefined information. So as I mentioned earlier, if it is a sales report generated at the end of each day, so this will be generated at the end of each day, maybe at say midnight or after midnight. That particular report will be generated without any interaction from an individual, without any interaction from a manager. So, but these systems produce information through interactions. So the manager will interact with the particular system, and so he will interact in different ways with the particular system depending on his or her information requirement, and then he or she is capable of retrieving the required information through a decision support system. So I think this will be elaborated more under data resource management chapter. Then 1980s and 90s, the focus was strategic and end user support. And there are a couple of systems identified here which supported the strategic, which provided the strategic and end user support. End user computing systems. So now before that, actually most of the systems focused on this say producing predefined information, and there would have been some systems supporting managers. There's some decision support systems supporting managers, but when it comes to other employees, they could not utilize systems by themselves directly for their day-to-day operations. So then by 1980s and 1990s, these systems emerged, and they could utilize the particular systems to fulfill their specific requirements. So those are identified as these end user computing systems, where the end user or the specific employee is capable of utilizing the particular system directly to support his or her processes. Direct computing support for end user productivity and work group collaboration. So he may utilize it for his or her purposes and processes, and he can achieve what is required through the particular system. Then another category emerged during this particular period, executive information systems, providing some critical information for top management. And expert systems providing some expert advice for end users based on knowledge and also based on some deep analysis of data. So it provides, it is capable of providing some expert advice which cannot be provided by other systems that are used within the organizations. Then strategic information systems, introduction of strategic products and services for achieving competitive advantage. Now, these systems are capable of supporting the organization to produce products and services which they can use to achieve competitive advantage. Now, I think when it comes to these categories, we will be elaborating more in the time to come. And I think some of the systems we will be talking about today also. Then 1990s and 2000 period, internet-based e-business and e-commerce systems. I think it is around 1994 and 1995. The commercial use of the internet came, and with that, the organizations focused on the e-businesses and e-commerce. I think again we will be looking at the difference between e-business and e-commerce as we move on. And here it says web-enabled enterprise and global e-business operations and electronic commerce on the internet, intranets, extranets, and other networks. Now we will be utilizing different e-business and e-commerce systems within the organization, facilitating us to perform different type of transactions with different individuals. So some of the systems may be used within the organization, but there can be some other systems that are used by the organization to connect with external parties. So intranets are basically systems limited to the organization or limited to employees in an organization. And extranets are systems that are used by an organization to connect with organizations, trading partners or business partners. Now again, there is a question posed here. When an organization doesn't have a computer and they are practicing manual data recording processes, do they have information system? Yes, definitely. They have, and they are not computer-based information system. They are manual information systems. So if you look at the definition given earlier for an information system, that can be applied for a manual information system as well, and storing, retrieving, transforming, dissemination, and all will be applicable for manual systems as well, manual information systems as well. So finally, I think I answered that particular question. Finally, there is this enterprise resource planning and business intelligence, which I emerged especially during this particular era, 2000 to 2010. So enterprise-wide common interface application. Now you are utilizing, I think, ERPs in most of the organization, which provide a common interface for different types of applications, and also customer relationship management, supply chain management systems, those systems which we use to connect with our customers or manage customers, manage suppliers. So those systems were primarily emerged during this particular era. So we are moving from those systems now, and yeah. There's a question saying, is the attendance management system in a company is managed for reporting? Yes, I think attendance management system can also provide some useful information for some decision making, maybe for HR managers, so maybe for heads of the departments. So of course, it can be classified as a management information system. Okay, is there any question in this particular discussion? So some of the things I don't want to go into detail, because we will be elaborating them as we move on. Okay, then there is this subtitle, what is e-business? So as I mentioned earlier, we utilize the terms electronic business, electronic commerce, and so on. Now, some definition for electronic business is given here, but a definition for e-commerce is not given here. But there is a separate chapter for electronic commerce, and we will be giving a definition for e-commerce there. And then you should be able to understand some difference between the particular two definitions. What is e-business? E-business can be defined as the use of internet technologies to work and empower business processes, e-commerce, and enterprise collaboration within a company and with its customers, suppliers, and other business stakeholders. Now, it is the use of internet technologies. Now, internet is based on a specific technology which is identified as the internet technology. And we are utilizing the particular internet technology or the technologies to empower certain business processes that are performed within organizations and between an organization and its stakeholders. So therefore, we will be utilizing the same internet technologies within the organization to perform their business processes within the organization. And also here it says for performing e-commerce transaction, which we basically perform with our customers, and also for some form of enterprise collaboration with our trading partners. It can be the suppliers, it can be the distributors, or it can be other trading partners like customers or any other trading partner. So that is e-business. So when we look at this particular definition, we can see it basically covers almost all processes, business processes done by an organization, because it basically focuses on processes within an organization, or processes that we perform with our customers through e-commerce, and also some other form of collaboration that we perform with our stakeholders, including customers, suppliers, distributors, and so on. So therefore, this is a very broad definition. So when it comes to electronic commerce definition, so you will realize that it is somewhat a restricted definition, basically focusing on the transaction that we perform with our customers through electronic commerce or through websites. So therefore, e-business is a broader definition covering almost all the business processes that we perform within an organization. So it includes the processes within the organization, and also it includes the processes which crosses the business boundary or the company boundary to connect with the stakeholders. In a sense, e-business can be more generally considered as an online exchange of value. So here it says it can be considered generally as an online exchange of value, because when you perform these transactions with different parties, so it creates some value for the organization. So therefore, it can be considered as an exchange of value also. The internet and internet-like networks. We will be relying on the internet, and also we will be relying on some other networks which will look like the internet. So here it says the particular networks, internet and the internet-like networks, have become the primary information technology infrastructure that supports the e-business applications of many companies. Now, when it comes to the electronic business, so e-business applications, we are relying on the internet and also some internet-like networks. So we will be relying on two internet-like networks within organizations. One is identified as the intranet, the other one is identified as the extranet. So these two networks, intranet and the extranet, are also developed based on the same internet technologies. So that is why they are identified as internet-like networks. When you work on intranet or extranet, you will feel like you are working on the internet, and you may not see much of a difference when you operate on the internet or when you work on your own intranet or when you work on an extranet. So the interface will be very much similar. How you can do something will be very much similar. How you can perform a particular transaction will be very much similar there. So intranet, here it said those inside the enterprise. So as I mentioned earlier, intranet is a network which is limited to employees within the organization. The outsiders will not have access to an intranet of an organization because it is a restricted network it's a limited network or it's a restricted network to employees within the organization. So therefore, this can be accessed only by employees within the organization. But when it comes to extranet, here it says between an enterprise and its trading partners. Now, extranet is a network which connects an organization with its trading partners. So basically, with its authorized trading partners. So trading partners are should be the authorized trading partners to access the extranet. So what do they access through the extranet? So they access the internal network of the organization. Now the intranet also access the internal network of the organization. Extranet also access the internal network of the organization by the outsiders, by the authorized outsiders, by the authorized stakeholders, by the authorized trading partners. So will there be any difference between when intranet and extranet? Can now the employees in the organization can access the internal network? And I said through the extranet, external trading partners or external authorized trading partners can also access the internal network of the organization or internal databases of the organization. So then will the access be same or there will be some difference?
There should be some difference. For the extranet, there should be some and security than the internet.
Okay. Yeah, partly right, but some other important point is missing, I think there. It's different. It's different. Access is different. So what is the main difference? So maybe you may focus on some security aspects as well, because they are accessing the internal network through the internet, basically. So they will be accessing the internal networks through a public network. So when you access through a public network, so we will have to be very much concerned about the security of our internal systems, yes. But there is one other specific difference.
So for extranet, we are giving a limited access only?
Yes. That is the main difference. We are giving a limited access. Now, usually employees in an organization can access almost everything within the particular network, and there can be some restriction there also, but theoretically they can access everything within the organization. But when it comes to an extranet, we always limit the access to the particular individuals. Depending on the individual, depending on the stakeholder, what he or she can access may change, but always there will be a limited access. Now, if we think about, say, internet banking, so you are basically accessing a particular bank's internal network through an extranet, but you will be having a restricted access. What is the restriction? You can access only your account. But when it comes to a bank employee, the particular employee will be able to access all the accounts of all the customers in the particular bank. So likewise, there will be restrictions imposed when it comes to an extranet, and the particular authorization will be with some limited access. So as I mentioned earlier, the authorized external parties, authorized trading partners, authorized stakeholders can access the internal network of an organization, but the access will be limited. Okay. Is there any question regarding that one before moving forward?
It's clear, sir.
Yeah, thank you. So we can, I think, take a break right now. So you basically have 30 minutes break, no? But since it is 9:37, can we meet at 10 or 10:05? What is better? You have 10. Yeah, shall we meet at 10 o'clock then?
Okay, sir.
Okay, sir.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll start after the break. We were talking about electronic business, and so we said that the organization's information technology infrastructure is built on internet and some other internet-like networks, and we elaborated on intranet and extranet. So this is how e-business is being used within organization is elaborated in this particular figure. And there can be different types of business processes within the organization. There can be some processes related to supply chain management. There can be processes related to engineering and research, manufacturing and production, accounting and finance, customer relationship management, and so on. And this is the company boundary. And within the boundary, we have the particular business processes. And then those processes will be connected utilizing an intranet of an organization. And then we can have extranets connecting the internal systems of an organization with external parties like suppliers, customers, and other business partners. So that is what is elaborated here. The internet is also there. So internet will also be used in connecting these particular systems together. So that is what is elaborated in this particular figure, where different processes are there in an organization which are basically connected through the intranet within the organization, and extranet is used to connect an organization's internal systems or internal networks with the external parties. Companies rely on e-business applications to re-engineer internal business processes. Now we can utilize these e-business applications again for different reasons. Now there are three again primary reasons identified. One is re-engineer internal business processes, then implement e-commerce systems with their customers and suppliers, promote enterprise collaboration among business teams and work groups. So we can use these business applications to re-engineer internal business processes. Now the term re-engineer or re-engineering may come later on as well. So what do we mean by re-engineering? Now re-engineering basically refers to radically redesigning the external processes in order to improve, or in order to maybe critically improve certain areas like output, or the cost aspect, or the quality aspect, or the service aspect, and so on. So therefore basically we may re-engineer, or we may radically redesign existing business processes in order to achieve, for example, cost reductions, or in order to increase the number of output that we produce. Or we may re-engineer processes in order to provide a better quality, or better quality products. We may re-engineer our business processes to improve the customer service that we provide. So likewise, by re-engineering internal existing processes, we focus on achieving certain objectives. As I mentioned in earlier, it can be in relation to the output that we produce, or the amount of output that we produce, or maybe the cost incurred by the organization through the particular processes, or the quality of the product that we produce, or the service that we provide to our customers, or maybe a combination of all of those things. So that is one thing which we can achieve through introduction of e-business applications to the organization. Implement e-commerce systems with their customers and suppliers. Now we can, by focusing on or by utilizing e-business applications, we can introduce e-commerce systems, connecting our customers and connecting our suppliers. So we basically sell our products to customers, and we purchase our requirements or supplies from our suppliers. For both the cases, we can utilize e-commerce systems. We purchase from suppliers and we sell to our customers. So to facilitate those transactions, we can rely on e-commerce systems. So introduction of e-commerce systems can be part of the business applications that we introduce into our organization. And also promote enterprise collaboration among business teams and work groups. We mentioned about the utilization of teams and work groups within organizations. So the organization may form different teams or work groups in order to achieve certain goals, certain objectives, maybe to execute certain projects and so on. So therefore, the collaboration among members, among the team members, among the members in a particular work group will be very, very critical in executing the particular tasks there. So then there can be certain e-business applications, which can be some collaboration systems, so which will facilitate the collaboration between members in a particular group or between members in a particular team. So those are some of the reasons as to why the organizations may introduce e-business applications into their organization. Yeah. Okay. Is there any question regarding these three primary reasons of introducing e-business applications into an organization? So as I mentioned earlier, e-business has a very broad definition. So it basically covers almost all business processes within an organization. So it includes e-commerce as highlighted here. It focuses on all business processes, so empowering all business processes, so improving all business processes. And it focuses on e-commerce. It focuses on enterprise collaboration. Okay, is this clear, the reasons of utilizing e-business applications by an organization?
Yes, sir, it was.
Yes, thank you. Yes, we'll move forward. We are moving to a new title, Types of Information Systems. So we are going to look at certain we can categorize information systems into different categories. So here we are going to look at one sort of such classification, but that is not the only classification which we can use to classify or categorize information systems. Again, in different textbooks, different authors have utilized different classifications. So, but for this particular course, please remember the classification that we are utilizing here. Conceptually, the applications of information systems that are implemented in today's business world can be classified in several different ways. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the applications of information systems can be classified in different ways. For example, several types of information systems can be classified as either operations or management support systems. Now, again, there can be different types of information systems used within organizations. Now, here the authors use the term specifically several types of. That means there can be certain information system which may not fall into this particular classification. So therefore, several types of information systems can be classified as either operations or management support systems. But when we consider an organization and when we look at this particular classification, so we may feel that almost all information systems that are used within an organization can be categorized under these two, the operation support systems and management support systems, but there can be some exceptions. That is why the term several is used here. Information systems are categorized this way to spotlight the major roles each plays in the operations and management of a business. Now, what is the classification we are utilizing? Basically, we are classifying information systems into two. What are those two categories? Operation support systems, management support systems. Now, here it says, why do we classify them as operation support systems and management support systems? So here it says they are categorized to highlight or to spotlight the major roles each plays in the operations and management of a business. Now, these specific categories, operation support systems and management support systems, play some specific roles of an organization in relation to their operations and in relation to the management of the business. So that is why the two major classifications have been identified: operation support systems and management support systems. Then, but before that, I will just go to this particular figure. We can see information systems are here. Then operations support systems is one major category which we can identify. And management support system is the other major category that we can identify. So therefore, information systems are divided into two major categories as operation support systems and management support systems. Then operation support systems again are divided into certain other subcategories. So there are three specific categories identified here under operation support systems: transaction processing systems, process control systems, enterprise collaboration systems. So other one is a specialized category which is identified here. Then the management support systems also, there are three specific categories identified: management information system, decision support systems, executive support system. But specialized systems are, here it says, it looks like some common system which may serve the operations and which may serve the management decision making as well. So therefore, those are somewhat specialized systems which may support both the areas, operations and management. So with that particular understanding in mind, or we can come back to this particular slide. So here we are going to look at what is performed by these operation support systems and management support systems. Now, when it comes to operation support system, they are basically utilized to process business transactions, control industrial processes, support enterprise communications and collaborations, then update corporate databases. So this is a very common one, but there are some other specific roles identified here. Process business transaction. Now, any organization perform different business transactions. So it can be related to sales, it can be related to purchases, it can be related to accounting, it can be related to manufacturing, it can be related to service. So likewise, there can be different transactions performed. So which will basically be managed by or which will be performed by systems coming under operation support systems. And also when it comes to industrial processes or manufacturing processes, there can be some controls that will have to be utilized in the particular production process. So then there has to be some systems which enables the organization to control the particular production process. So that can also be facilitated by automated systems, and which is coming under operation support systems. So which is performed by operation support systems, and also supporting enterprise communications and collaboration also done by operation support systems. And as I mentioned earlier, updating the corporate databases. So those are some of the tasks performed by the operation support systems. And when it comes to management support systems, it focuses on providing information and support for effective decision making by managers. The primary focus of management support systems is to provide the information which can be utilized by the managers for their decision making purposes. So providing information to facilitate decision making of managers. So that is the primary focus of management support systems. So those are about the two major classifications. There's a question regarding whether inventory control systems can be considered as control system, but according to this particular classification, we can't, because basically we focus on controlling industrial processes, some manufacturing processes. Inventory control will be related to processing business transactions here. Okay. So coming back to this particular diagram, as I mentioned earlier, we have two major categories: operation support systems supporting business operations, management support systems supporting managerial decision making. So those are the two main categories and the two main focuses on those two categories. So then again, under that, I said there are three specific categories each. Under these two categories, transaction processing systems, process control systems, enterprise collaboration systems under operation support systems, management information systems, decision support systems, executive information systems under management support systems. Now, don't get confused with this particular category of systems and this particular course. Now, the name of the course is Management Information System. You can see that there is a specific category of information systems identified as management information systems. So we are not, throughout this particular course, we are not focusing on this particular category or specific category. So we are focusing on a broader aspect under management information systems course. We are covering different areas under that particular course. Now here we are basically focusing on a specific information system. So providing pre-specified information for managers. So what is performed by each category is given below. Processing business transactions, that is done by TPS, transaction processing systems. Process control systems, control of industrial processes. Enterprise collaboration systems perform or support team and work group collaboration. MIS here provides pre-specified information. I think now you remember pre-specified information, which I elaborated earlier. So I mentioned about decision support systems providing interactive decision support. That means the information requirement which cannot be predefined. And if we can predefine, we can obtain them through management information systems. If we cannot predefine, we may have to rely on decision support systems. Then executive information system providing information tailored for executives or the top management. Then there are specialized processing systems, expert systems, providing expert advice to decision makers. Again, these systems will also support managers in their decision making by providing some expert advice, by maybe providing some knowledge, as well as I mentioned, through by mining data in a more comprehensive manner, or by analyzing data in a more comprehensive manner. The knowledge management system basically support management of knowledge within the organization. Strategic information systems supporting the achievement of competitive advantage, and functional business systems supporting basic business functions. Again, any organization will have different functions operating within the organization. When it comes to traditional manufacturing organization, we may identify some traditional functions like manufacturing, accounting and finance, human resource management, sales and marketing, and so on. So then under each function, there can be some systems running. So those are identified as these functional business systems under sales and marketing. They may have some specific applications or information systems running within that particular function. When it comes to production function, again, there can be some specific information systems running in that function. So likewise, the organization's different functions may have their own information systems catering their specific needs. So those are identified here. So, but what is important under these specialized processing systems is that they can either support operations, or they can, they can support both the operations and management or managerial decision making of managers. So that is about the two main classifications, and what are coming under each classification, what are coming under each category, and what those systems perform in general. So thereafter, we basically go into identify in detail about each and every category, starting from transaction processing systems. So we are going to look at the specific categories highlighted in the earlier figure, starting with the types of operation support systems. And under this, we will be focusing on the three main types or three main categories identified under that. The first one was transaction processing systems. So what does it do? What do those systems do? Record and process the data resulting from business transactions. Examples are sales processing, inventory systems, accounting systems, and so on. Now, it record and process data resulting from business transactions. There can be different types of transactions taking place within the organization in different areas, or in different units, or in different functions. So then they are basically performed by transaction processing systems. Inside sales department, there can be some sales processing systems running. So inside, say, production department, there can be an inventory system running. Inside accounting department, there can be some accounting systems running. So those systems will be processing certain transactions. So sales processing system will process sales transactions. Inventory systems processing inventory related transaction. Likewise, different system will record and process those transactions. And they process transactions in two basic ways: batch processing and real-time processing. So when it comes to transaction processing systems, even today, we may find that there are certain transactions which are processed as a batch. So which is identified as batch processing, and there can be transactions processed real-time, online and real-time. Then what is batch processing? Now, it is a situation where we accumulate transactions over a time and process periodically. That means we do not process the particular transactions as and when they occur. We accumulate them over a particular time period, over a specific time period, and process periodically. Now, one example is given here in relation to check processing. And so most of the checks, basically the interbank checks, are processed overnight. And then the check processing basically is done as batch processing, where we may collect the particular details and process at the end of the particular day. So if you take payroll, what do you think? Real-time processing or batch processing?
Batch processing.
Batch processing, yes. The relevant information will be collected over a period of month, and then at the end of the month, the particular data will be processed. So likewise, there can be certain transactions which are processed on a batch basis and which is identified as batch processing. Then we have online processing or real-time processing. Process transactions immediately. So that means as and when the transaction happens, the transaction is processed by the systems. So example here, it says bank processes an ATM withdrawal immediate. So if you withdraw some money from an ATM, and that transaction will be processed real time, and thereafter your account will be updated. So if it doesn't happen, there will be lots of problems occurred when it comes to bank transactions. So they can't actually do their operations without this real-time updating. So therefore, this is a must when it comes to certain transactions. So therefore, maybe when it comes to most of the organizations, they may be utilizing online processing more and more, because when you process transactions online, you can have up-to-date information. So when you process transactions utilizing batch processing, you do not have up-to-date information with you. So when it comes to payroll, you may have to wait till the end of the month to get certain information in relation to, or maybe some pay-related information. Until the payroll is processed, you can't get those information. So, but if real-time processing is done, the managers are capable of accessing real-time information. So therefore, their decision-making can be made more efficient, and also they can make more effective decision because they have up-to-date information with them. Then the second category is, but before moving to that one, is this clear, the transaction processing systems?
Yes, sir, clear.
Yeah, okay. Then process control systems. Now one question asked was related to inventory systems, as highlighted here. That is a transaction processing system according to this particular classification. Then process control systems, monitor and control physical processes. Now these systems are primarily used in a manufacturing setup or in an industrial setup. So it monitors the ongoing processes and then make certain adjustments to the ongoing processes depending on the requirement. So control the particular process depending on the requirements. So in most of the cases, these particular systems will be connected to sensors, and the sensors will identify whether a particular thing has happened or not, and depending on that one, an action can be taken by this particular system. Now the example says using sensors to monitor chemical processes in a petroleum refinery and make instant and real-time adjustments that control the refinery process. Now, petroleum in a petroleum refinery, some chemical processing will be done, and then there may be some sensors utilized there to identify certain circumstances, and maybe to check the temperature of the particular, say, the ingredients that are being processed, and So maybe you may have to add the particular chemical when the existing the mixture reaches a particular temperature. So then the sensors can identify whether the existing mixture has reached the particular temperature. So when that particular temperature has been reached, then the systems can instruct to mix the next chemical into the existing mixture there. So likewise, there can be sensors utilized maybe when it comes to an automobile manufacturing process. There are many sensors utilized, maybe whether to identify whether a particular part has been reached to a particular location. So a sensor will identify whether it has reached there or not. And when that has reached there, the next process or the next operation can start there. So it can be a bottling plant. So in a bottling plant, to fix the lid there, so the sensor will have to identify whether the bottle has reached there or not. So likewise, there can be different industrial processes or manufacturing processes which are controlled by these process control systems, which will primarily rely on sensors to identify whether the expected state has been received, whether the expected state has been reached or not. So depending on that one, the next course of action can be determined. Yeah, again, yeah. Is there any question regarding process control systems? Vehicle sensors. There is a question, can we take vehicle sensors at this time? No, because vehicle sensors are not related to an industrial process. And I think according to this definition or classification, basically we are focusing on industrial processes. In a vehicle also today, I think there are lots of sensors which can control our processes. We may classify them under this one also. But here primary focus is the industrial processes. Okay, shall we move forward then? Enterprise collaboration systems enhance team and work group communications and productivity. So we can utilize different, as you mentioned earlier, the collaboration may be vital when the organization has different teams or groups working on different projects, focusing on achieving certain objectives. So then different systems can be utilized by them to facilitate this intergroup communication and collaboration and improvement of productivity. And those tools can include email, video conferencing, collaborative document sharing, project management tools, and so on. Now today, email and video conferencing are very, very common tools that are used within organizations. And also there can be some other system facilitating sharing of documents. There can be video conferencing tools consisting of these facilities, but there can be some other systems used within the organization facilitating especially the management and sharing of documents and files are used by employees there. And there can be specific project management tools used when it comes to management of projects. As I mentioned earlier, there can be different teams or groups working on specific projects of an organization. And then they may use some specialized project management tools, helping them to manage their project and enabling them to monitor the progress of the project from time to time, and maybe to replan their task depending on their progress, and to ensure that they can finish their project on time. So different specialized project management tools can be utilized there. Yeah. Now the question is regarding the process control system. Yeah, our primary concern is industrial processes. And as one mentioned earlier, there are many many sensors utilized in vehicles also. And we may classify them under process control systems because the vehicle may take different actions depending on those sensors today. So in a broader sense, yes, they can be classified under process control systems. But our primary focus here is the industrial processes. Yeah, is there any question regarding the particular three categories, types of operation support systems before moving to the management support systems?
Email applications, conferencing application, that Microsoft Office, those are included in this category.
Yes. Correct. Yeah, there can be different other, maybe you may be utilizing Workplace by Facebook or Yammer, something like that. Different enterprise systems are utilized within certain organizations. So they can also be classified under enterprise collaboration systems. Okay, shall we move forward then?
Yes.
Then we are moving to the category of management support systems. Again, I think you remember that there are three specific categories identified there. First one is management information systems. It provides the information. Now here the term pre-specified is missing, and you can always include it there. When it comes to management information systems, it provides pre-specified information. Shall we edit here? I think the textbook that is not. In the diagram, I think it was specified, but here it is missing. So it basically provides pre-specified information in the form of reports and displays to managers and many business professionals. So I think you know that what we mean by pre-specified information. That means your information requirements can be specified in advance. Your information requirement can be specified in advance. So I mentioned the example, sales report. It can be a daily sales report. It can be a weekly sales report, monthly report, quarterly report. Likewise, you may specify that you require this information at the end of this particular specific period of time. So that means you are pre-specifying your requirement, your information requirement. So then that will be produced by a management information system. Then the example also, daily sales analysis reports that evaluate sales made by each person. So this is the example I took from the beginning, but there can be other types of management information systems fulfilling specific requirements. Now, if it is a profit and loss account prepared at the end of a specific period, the same thing. You specify in advance, you require this information after processing the specific data. And so in accounting division also there can be different types of other accounting applications where you can specify your requirement in advance. In the HR department also, there can be different applications producing pre-specified information at the end of a specific period. Mostly they may look at maybe monthly information, pre-specified information to arrive at certain decisions. then can you come up with some examples according to your own examples? Pre-specified information produced at the end of a specific period in your organization?
Daily output and rejects summary of yesterday.
Yeah, okay. Daily output and rejects, yes. Any other?
So attendance systems. So when we swipe the finger on the machine at the end of the month, it gives the report.
Yeah, but is it processed and used for any decision making every day, or you ultimately process at the end of the month?
Actually, sir, when calculating OTs and limiting OT per month, it is can categorize as monitoring daily attendance.
I feel it may mostly, most probably come under the transaction processing system if it is run on a daily basis. And it can also produce some information which we may utilize. Else, that may be related to the payroll. So, which will be processed at the end of the month, then it can be classified under here. Okay, decision support system provide interactive and ad hoc computer support to manager during the decision making process. Provide interactive. So what do we mean by interactive? That means the user interacts with the system. Now, as I mentioned earlier, when it comes to management information systems, user doesn't interact. I mentioned earlier, at the end of the specified period, it can be, if it is a daily sales report, at the end of the day, the system itself automatically produces the particular report. The sales report is produced by the system automatically. The payroll will be processed at the end of the month, and the relevant information will be produced, or the reports will be produced automatically at the end. So, but now these systems are different. The user interaction or the interaction of the manager is important here. Without interaction, you cannot get information. So here it says what if analysis to determine where to spend advertising dollars. Now that means when it comes to marketing, and we may have to determine where to advertise, because there can be different media available. We can advertise on the internet or social media, or we can advertise on other traditional media like television, newspapers, radio, and so on. Now, where are we going to advertise? And so what will produce better results for the organization? So therefore, there can be something called a what if analysis. I think this will be elaborated more when you do, I think, data resource management chapter. Now, what if means now basically it refers to a situation where depending on a particular input, the output will change. So therefore, when you change the input, the output will change. So therefore, we may input different values and see what the outcome would be. So something like that. So what if analysis is a situation where we change the input values and see the impact of the particular change on the output and how the output changes. So that sort of things will have to be done interactive. You have to change the inputs that you enter. Then the system will come up with the output. So, so there can be, you may do it manually, and there can be certain models which is inbuilt into these particular systems, which will support your analysis. Here you basically do some analysis. You change the input and see how the output is changed. That's an analysis. So there can be specific models supporting analysis under different circumstances. So therefore, that sort of systems can also be utilized by the managers. So those systems will be interactive. You interact with the system and then you perform some analysis, and thereafter you generate some information which will help your decision making process. Okay. Is there anything not clear?
So far, so good, sir.
Okay. Now, when I took the particular advertising example, I mentioned there can be different media like internet in general, social media, radio, television, newspaper, and so on. Suppose there are 5 categories. And what are the 5 categories? Internet, social media, television, radio, and newspaper. Those are the same 5 categories or 5 media that are available for advertising. And we can input different values to the particular 5 categories and see the particular outcome. So there will be a particular formula which should generate the particular outcome, that is that can be the effectiveness of advertising or something like that. So that is why I said in most of the cases certain models are utilized there, so which will determine or which will do the particular analysis and come up with the particular output or come up with the particular result. So therefore you can change, you can input different values to the particular 5 media and see how the output changes there. So there can be an optimal point which you can identify. So there is a particular optimal combination. So you may use all the 5 media for advertising, but there can be only one optimal solution which you can find that can be identified basically utilizing these decision support systems. Okay, so you should learn about more in a coming chapter. In executive information systems provide critical information from a wide variety of internal and external sources in easy-to-use displays to executives and managers. Now, executive information systems focuses on providing some useful information to executives and managers in the organization. And here it says in the form of easy-to-use displays. So that means the relevant information are displayed in a format which is easy to use by the managers or executives in the organization. But before that, here it says it produces some critical information, critical for decision making. So critical information for decision making, which are obtained through both internal and external sources. Now, when it comes to maybe higher management or top management in an organization, they can't make decision solely based on internal information or internal data. So focusing on external data and external information is very, very wide. So maybe market related information, maybe competitor related information, or maybe some other external factors like government and so on. So focusing on those aspects may be very, very vital or may be very, very critical. So therefore, they may use both internal information as well as external information, which they access, so which they get through different sources. There can be some internal sources that they rely on, and also there can be some external sources that they rely on to get the required information. So the executive information system will process those, process both the internal and external data that the particular systems capture, and then provide them in an easy to use format. Now, what is the easy to use format? I think in the example also that is not given, maybe something like a dashboard. Now, the dashboards are very, very popular in providing critical information, critical performance related information, critical operations related information to managers in an organization. So therefore, these executive information systems may use the dashboards to provide the particular critical information to the managers or executives so that they can make effective decisions in a timely manner. The example top executives may use touchscreen terminals to view instantly text and graphics displays that highlight key areas of organizational and competitive performance. That here it says the particular displays may have the touch screen feature so that they can touch the screen and get certain information instantaneously. So basically highlighting key areas of the organizational performance or key areas about the competitor performance or market performance and so on. Likewise, the critical and vital information can be produced by executive information systems. Okay, so I see it clear, executive information systems.
Yes, sir.
Right. Then we will move to the specific specialized systems. Again, a short description or short explanation. Expert systems provide expert advice. So how do we provide this expert advice? So that may be based on the data already stored within the organization or the knowledge that is already stored within the organization. But these expert systems are capable of processing the particular data in a deep manner or knowledge in a deep manner and produce the particular information which cannot be produced by the other systems. So we have identified several other systems earlier. We focused on 6 categories earlier. So one is, of course, the executive information systems. Now, the expert advice cannot be provided by these executive information systems. The analytical procedure utilized in executive systems is not that comprehensive in executive information system. So therefore, when it comes to expert systems, some procedures like data mining will be utilized. Now, data mining is a mechanism, again, that will be illustrated more under data resource management chapter. And data mining is a concept where you analyze data in a comprehensive and in a deep manner. So, which cannot be done by other basic analytical tools. So then by mining data, you may be in a position to identify certain information which cannot be identified utilizing other tools. So you may identify certain relationships between certain data which you could not identify utilizing other systems. You may identify certain hidden relationships which could not be uncovered or which could not be identified utilizing other systems. So likewise, expert systems will mine data or do an in-depth analysis of data or knowledge that has been captured by the organization to provide some expert advice to the managers in relation to, again, different decision-making requirements. The example says advice for managerial decisions such as loan portfolio management. Now, when it comes to loan portfolio management, portfolio indicating a combination basically. And again, the managers may have to decide on an optimal loan portfolio that they should maintain within the organization. So then in order to arrive at the particular decision, some expert advice may be required, which may be produced by an expert system. So it can be loan management or it can be some sort of investment. It can be a portfolio of investment. Now, when it comes to most of the organizations, it can be a bank or it can be any other financial institution. They may invest in different instruments, in different other assets. and then what is the best combination that they should invest. So again, a simple analytical tool may not be capable of coming out with the optimal portfolio of investment that the particular organization should utilize or should invest in. So in such circumstances, the organizations may have to rely on expert systems. So that is the explanation in brief. So is there any question regarding that one? Understood or not understood?
Yes, sir, we can move on.
Okay. Then the next category is knowledge management systems, support creation, organization, and dissemination of business knowledge throughout the company. Now, this is a specialized system. Now, when it comes to all other systems, especially that we classified under operation support systems or management support systems, they process data generated from transactions. Now here we basically focus on knowledge, not data. Now the data is one thing, and which is mostly available in numeric form, and other form of data is also available. Most of the data can be available in numeric form, but knowledge is something different, and that is again that can be available in a text format or in a text form. So then managing knowledge again cannot be done by the particular system that we identified so far, that we explained so far, or that we discussed so far. So there can be certain places where the knowledge is created, and then the knowledge management systems can be used to support the creation of knowledge there, and then organization of the particular knowledge after creation, and the dissemination of the knowledge among the employees within the organization, so that they can utilize the particular knowledge to improve on different areas, maybe to improve on the work that they perform, the business processes that they execute. So likewise, the knowledge distributed among the employees can help improve different areas within the organization, and of course the processes performed by the organization. Now the example given here says intranet access to best business practices. Now best business practices, what do you think? Are they developed solely within the organization, or you capture some best practices from outsiders? How do you develop? Best practices are developed solely within the organization, or some within the organization, or some come from outside?
So some are within the organization and some comes from outside?
Yes. Because there can be some practices which you identified internally, because based on experience of performing certain practices over a period of time, you may identify that these are the best practices which you can utilize within the organization. But that is not adequate actually. So you may identify some of them like that, but still better to compare them with other best practices which are performed by others. So which are performed by your competitors. So which are available in other other forms in maybe in journals or in magazines or something like that. There can be authors who have recommended certain practices. And then only I think you should arrive at the final set of best practices which should be employed within the organization. So then what does it say? Now, once you identify the best business practices that should be relevant for your organization and that should be utilized within your organization, that is knowledge. Best business practices is a knowledge for the organization. It's an important knowledge for the organization. And then that has to be stored within the organization so that others can access it. So where can we store? We can store it in the intranet so that others can access it whenever they want. And so they can store the particular knowledge within a particular knowledge base so that employees within the organization can access it utilizing the intranet. And also we can disseminate it. If it is something new that you identify, there can be a set of practices that you already utilize. But maybe some research members within the organization or some members within the organization identify some new best practices which can be adopted by the organization. So then again, they can be captured by the knowledge management systems and stored within the knowledge bases. And we can use the knowledge management systems to disseminate it among the employees within the organization. Again, mostly with the help of the intranets, because intranet is a place which connect all employees of an organization. So these systems are connected to the intranet, and therefore they are capable of disseminating or distributing the particular knowledge which is available there through the intranet to employees of the organization. So therefore, there can be, maybe it can be a particular scientific experiment. It can be an organization where some scientific experiments take place or scientific experiments are performed. It can be an organization where certain research and development is done. Now, the scientific experiments or research and development always create new knowledge. So then this knowledge management system will be connected to those particular places. So to those particular systems used by the particular scientists or R&D people and so on. So that when the new knowledge is created, it can be captured by the system directly and then organize or put it into a particular format that we require, and thereafter take necessary action to disseminate among the employees within the organization. So therefore, knowledge management system will always be connected to places where the new knowledge is created. So as I mentioned earlier, it can be the scientific experiments performed or where the R&D work is done. It can even be the marketing research team who will analyze different market-related data resulting in the creation of new knowledge, so which can be captured by the particular knowledge management systems. So therefore, the knowledge can be captured and organized or put into a particular format that will be useful for the organization. And thereafter, we can take necessary action to disseminate the knowledge among the relevant people or all employees, depending on the requirement. Yes. I mentioned that this knowledge management system, so any other system can be connected to the intranet. So intranet is the primary network connecting all employees within an organization. So then the other systems used within the organization can also be connected to the intranet so that employees can access or utilize those systems through the intranet, and also the communication of information among employees can be made much faster when the particular systems are connected to the intranet. Yes. Now, is it clear about knowledge management systems? Okay, shall I move forward then? It seems no questions. Then strategic information systems. So this is the third specialized category. Applying information technology to a firm's products, services, or processes to help it gain a strategic advantage over its competitors. Now we can utilize strategic information systems to help the organization to achieve a strategic advantage or competitive advantage over its competitors. How? By applying information technology into the products it produces or the services it produces or the business processes it performs. Now, these are somewhat older examples, shipment tracking or e-commerce web systems. Now, shipment tracking, now this has been taken because when it comes to say online ordering and shipment tracking is considered very, very vital. Now, today, most of the e-commerce, most of the companies having e-commerce may have this particular feature. But if it was a situation where only a limited number of e-commerce companies have this particular feature and others do not have, so then the companies having this particular feature tend to get a strategic advantage because the customers would prefer this feature. The customers would value this feature. So then customers would tend to purchase from these companies because they can track their product at any time that they want. So again, e-commerce web systems, again, having an e-commerce website itself is an advantage. But again, now today, most of the organization may be having an e-commerce system, but there can be some specific features which we can again focus on an e-commerce system, which others do not have. So today, you may find it very difficult to do things like that also. But still, if you can analyze the systems of competitors, you may identify that they lack certain features. They lack certain important features which you can incorporate into your e-commerce system. So that again, customers would prefer it, customers would value it, helping you to attract customers to your business, helping you to attract customers to your e-commerce website. So therefore, that is one thing. And here it says incorporating technology features into the product, services that you produce is another aspect which you can use. But I mentioned at the beginning also, when it comes to achieving the strategic advantage or the competitive advantage, we use the particular two terms, competitive and strategic, I think, interchangeably, basically to identify the same thing. I said that when it comes to achieving the competitive advantage, that is achieved through strategies. Now, that is the basic concept. But here, that term is not included here. Under strategic information system, they say you can apply information technology to a firm's products or services and business processes. But there has to be a strategy for the organization in relation to the products that they produce, services that they produce, or the business processes that they perform, and so on. So depending on the strategy, you have to determine what you are going to do with information technology. So now, since we have not discussed strategies yet, I don't want to go into the detail, but just adding information technology features into products, or just adding information technology features into services, or just adding information technology into processes may not work for an organization. It should always be connected with a specific strategy the organization pursues. Then only you are in a position to achieve a strategic advantage for the organization. Okay, is it clear? Because I don't want to go into details here because we have not talked about strategies yet. And you may understand it when we discuss strategies and when we connect information technology with strategies in the second chapter, I think. Yes. Now, is the explanation clear as of now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. And
So
then
small clarification, sir.
Yeah.
So you have told us some about some lack of some features in e-commerce web. Can you please mention that again?
Now I too can't give an example easily right now because you can mostly you may identify similar features being present in many of the websites. So for that, you need to compare between different websites. Now, suppose if it is a internet banking also, now you may, if you have internet banking accounts of different banks, then you may see that maybe processing certain transactions from one bank is easier than the other for certain reasons. Maybe due to some feature that they have incorporated there. Suppose you can manage your utility bills and you have to create certain accounts there. So when you create accounts for different utility service providers, so you may identify that in certain internet banking site that is much easier and creating, and then when you go to manage it, or when you go to edit, when you want to edit it, and when you want to make the payment ultimately, you may identify that in certain sites that is easier. It is user friendly and the execution is easy. So that is what I mentioned, that by comparing different websites, an organization can identify what is lacking in their site, and whether their site is more user friendly, or whether there are certain competitor sites which are more user friendly. So where the user friendliness matters when it comes to users. So therefore that has to be determined after comparing different features available in different websites, maybe in relation to a specific industry. Okay, then.
Thank you, sir.
Right. Finally, functional business systems focus on operational and managerial applications in support of basic business functions such as accounting or marketing. I mentioned about this one earlier also. And functional business systems are related to the systems running within a particular function. And every organization has different functions. So depending on the type of the organization, the functions that are there will change. But definitely there will be different functions. So these are some traditional functions identified here, like accounting function, marketing function, or maybe HR function, production function, and so on. So then they may be having their own systems. So therefore, these systems will focus on operational and managerial applications in support of the business functions in each function there. So therefore, there can be certain accounting systems running. It can be payroll system. It can be general ledger system, it can be account receivable, accounts payable. So likewise, there can be different accounting systems running within the accounting function. Again, there can be different marketing system running within the marketing function. There can be different sales system running under sales function. There can be different production systems running under production or manufacturing system. So likewise, different systems are run, or different systems operate under different functions. So we can focus on them under functional business systems. Okay. Now, so we have discussed about 6 categories under 3 each under operation support systems and management support systems. Then we identified 4 specialized systems, expert systems, knowledge management systems, strategic information systems, and functional business systems. Now, is it clear before moving further? All the so altogether we have identified 10 systems.
So in the knowledge management systems, is it providing only the information, or we can log into the system and do the transactions as third party?
No, in a knowledge management system, you can't perform transaction. Now it's a system which is capable of capturing new knowledge created either within the organization or outside the organization or both. Now, as I mentioned earlier, now knowledge can be created at different places. I highlighted places like, say, R&D section of an organization. So it can be the marketing research team, or it can be the scientific experiments which are performed. So, so first we need to identify where the new knowledge is created within the organization. And then this knowledge management system will be connected to those places so that knowledge can be captured as soon as new knowledge is created. So thereafter it can be stored as it is, so it can be organized or put into a different format which will be more useful for the organization. So this has to be determined by the organization, how the knowledge is stored within the organization, so that it can be easily communicated, or it can be easily used by the users or employees of the organization. So, and also we can disseminate the knowledge among the members in the organization or employees in the organization. So that is, it is not related to the transactions performed. So maybe some sort of analysis also, you may create some knowledge after analyzing some transactional data. So if that is done by an organization where new knowledge is created, I mentioned that now expert systems may create some new knowledge there. So I said by doing some deep analysis, it may identify some hidden relationships which you could not identify utilizing other systems. So which may be new knowledge for the organization, which may then be connected with the knowledge management systems. So something like that. Did I answer your question, or still you have the problem?
So when we take government information system, that government information bureau, is it like a knowledge management system that if we want to find a detail on birth registration, we can find details on that? Is it like that, sir?
Yeah. Now, I mentioned that now knowledge can be created within the organization or outside the organization. Now, when it comes to business organization, you are referring to an external source. Now, external source is Government Information Bureau. So, yes. Yes, it can be a place where some new knowledge is available. So depending on the organization's requirement, if it is a place where new knowledge is created and new knowledge is available, the knowledge management systems of an organization can be connected to those particular systems or connected to those sources, so that necessary knowledge can be captured from the particular source.
Okay, thank you,
Okay,
sir.
right. Yeah. No, those are not knowledge management system. No, those may be classified under, I think, even transaction processing systems also. But by analyzing some data that are available there, or information available there, by analyzing further, you may create some new knowledge. So there can be, say, some cost-related information. There can be information related to thousands and thousands of courses there. But all may not be useful for you, no. So then you may have to, you may connect to a particular source and capture the relevant data from that particular source. And thereafter, it will have to be further analyzed to create the required knowledge for you or for your organization. So that can be considered as an external source where some knowledge is available. But that knowledge, as it is, may not be useful for your organization. So then the creation of knowledge is required there. Okay. Yeah. Are there any other questions? Okay. So we can move forward. Measuring IT success. So how can we measure the success of information systems or information technology that we utilize within organizations? Now, the first point says success of an information system should be measured using both efficiency and effectiveness. Whether the information system that we utilize or IT that we utilize is successful. That should be determined based on two measurements, efficiency and effectiveness. So then how are we going to measure the efficiency of our systems and how are we going to measure the effectiveness of our systems? So efficiency can be measured utilizing some criteria and effectiveness can be measured utilizing some other different criteria. Now, efficiency of the information technology is measured in relation to minimizing cost, minimizing time, and the use of minimizing the use of information resources. So whether the use of information systems or information technology helped us to reduce our cost of operations. Whether the utilization of information systems or technology helped us to reduce the time in processing, say reduce the cycle time or reduce the lead time, something like that. Then also whether the utilization of information technology or system help us to reduce or minimize the use of different information resources that we utilized earlier. Because with information technology, all required data may be stored in a centralized database, so that we can access it easily. So earlier we would have to look for different sources in order to access the required information or in order to get the required information. Who is talking? Okay, right. Yeah, please mute your phones if you don't interact with me. Okay, yeah, so that is what that is how we measure the efficiency, whether the systems or technology helped us to gain some specific benefits in relation to cost, the time, and the use of different information resources that we utilized earlier. So if we could reduce the cost incurred compared to the past with the implementation of these IoT-based systems. So then we have increased our efficiency. So that means we are processing the same thing at a reduced cost. Now, if we could reduce the time incurred in our business process, so that is also a benefit that we could achieve. So we can say that our efficiency has been increased because we now perform the same task within a shorter period of time. Our lead time has been reduced. Suppose we order something from our suppliers. So the order is generated from the organization, and then there is a point of time where the supplier delivers to us. So there is a lead time in between, and whether we could reduce that particular lead time. So if we could reduce it by utilizing different information systems within the organization, and also information system connecting the organization with the suppliers, so then we have increased our efficiency. So likewise, as I mentioned earlier, the data would have been scattered. The data would have been stored in different databases or different places. So then in order to get the relevant information, we have to access all those places and then do some analysis to arrive at the required information. But today, the information may be available in a centralized place so that you can easily access those information, quickly access those information. So the efficiency of accessing information is increased there. So that is what we look at under efficiency. Those are the measurements that we look at under efficiency. Okay, is it clear, the efficiency measurements or efficiency dimensions?
Yes, sir, clear.
Right. Then effectiveness of information technology is measured in relation to supporting an organization's business strategies, enabling its business processes, enhancing its organizational structures and culture, increasing the customer and business value of the enterprise. To what extent the information technology or systems help us to attain the particular things identified here, or particular areas identified here. So depending on the extent to which we achieve them, we can determine whether our systems are effective or not. So then what do we look at? One thing is supporting an organization's business strategies. So I mentioned earlier also, in order to achieve competitive advantage, so we need strategies, and then if we can support the particular strategies with information systems or technologies, and then if we can facilitate the achievement of competitive advantage by utilizing information technology for those strategies, so we can say that those systems and technologies are effective because the particular strategies are supported or strategies are enabled by information technology. Those strategies are facilitated by information technology, making it easier for us to execute the particular strategies. So if it is so, then we can say that the particular systems or technologies are effective, enabling its business processes. So information technology may help us to perform the particular business processes in an automated manner. So we may replace the existing processes with information technology, with information systems. If we can do so, so then there is this effectiveness. So there can be instances where now if the processes are also, the business processes are structured in nature, enabling the particular processes with information technology is much easier. If the processes are not structured, then the task is somewhat difficult. So therefore, whether our business processes are structured or semi-structured or unstructured matters when it comes to the introduction of information technology. So therefore, if our processes can be enabled or supported by business processes, can be supported by information technology, or can be replaced by automated processes, then the effectiveness will be there. Then enhancing its organizational structure and culture. Now, there are two aspects identified here: enhancing its organizational structure, enhancing the culture. Now, one example which we can take is structure. Now, structure. Now, when it comes to a traditional organization, mostly we say that the organizational structure is rigid. Now, that means when it comes to, say, decision making, we have to go through a long process, and you have to get maybe approvals from different people in the hierarchy or managers in the hierarchy and so on. So there can be a rigid structure which may delay decision making. That is one thing. And also when it comes to a rigid structure, responding to change is very, very difficult. Now the environment may change very rapidly, but responding to the changes taking place in the environment will be very, very difficult when the organization structure is rigid, because they don't want to maybe change the existing way of doing things within the organization, even though the environment has changed. So that is one thing which we can think about in a traditional organization. But with information technology, if we can make it a flexible structure, so that you can maybe make decisions quickly, or you can respond to environmental changes quickly and so on. If information technology enables changes in the existing organizational structure to move it from a rigid structure to a flexible structure, so then we can say that the effectiveness is there. And culture. Culture is, again, we can take an example related to decision making. And traditionally, the organization may have a centralized decision making, so which can be connected with the structure also. So a centralized decision making where the decisions are taken by the top management. So other lower management will have to send it for approval, send their decisions for approval of top management. But with information technology, we may go for decentralized decision making. So therefore, if the that is related to culture, that is the way of decision making within the organization. Earlier, it was centralized decision making. That is the culture of that particular organization. So, but with information technology, we may be in a position to move from the existing centralized decision making culture to a decentralized culture, because information technology enables decentralized decision making. Now, for decision making, what do we require? What is the most important thing that is required for decision making?
Information, sir.
Yes, information. So information technology and information systems enable the distribution of information among all employees within the organization. Now, in the traditionally, why did organizations go for centralized decision making? Because the information was accessible only to the top management or to that particular central management. But today, information is accessible down the order. The information which can be accessed by the top management can also be accessed by lower level employees of the organization. So therefore, today, with the help of information technology, information can be accessed by anyone in the organization if necessary authorization is given. So then, so theoretically, therefore, information can be accessed by anyone in the organization. So therefore, the decentralization of decision making is enabled, so it is facilitated by information technology. So therefore, if an organization can move from centralized decision making to decentralized decision making with the help of information technology and system, then we say the particular investments are effective. Then increasing the customer and business value. what is this customer value? What is business value? Increasing the customer value. If our information technology and systems help us to increase the customer value, so we say that our investment is effective. If our information technology and say system investments help us to increase the business value, we can say that our investments are effective. Yeah. Now, what is customer value? Can someone tell? You should definitely learn it under marketing course. Yeah, that is basically, now again, there can be different definitions given with some small variations. One way we can define is that customer value is related to the satisfaction the customer experiences by taking a particular action, or maybe by purchasing a particular product at a particular price. So then he will compare the price he paid and the benefits that he gets, or the satisfaction that he gets. So there some customer value will be created. So that is customer value. It is basically related to the satisfaction the customer experiences by taking a particular action, by making a particular payment. So that particular action can be mostly related to purchase of a particular product or service by making a particular payment. So customer value is the basically satisfaction the customer experiences, or he expects to experience by purchasing a particular product. So that is also there. The customer really experiences, or he expects to experience by taking a particular action, or by making a particular purchase or something like that at a particular cost. And business value is something broader. The business value includes customer value as well, because the customer is part of the business, and business value includes the customer value. But in addition to that one, it can include different other values. The employee value, the value generated by the employees for the organization, or the value of employees for the organization, or it can be the economic value, the profits generated by the business, or the revenue generated by the business. And there can be some stakeholder value of the stakeholders for the company. So likewise, there can be different other values incorporated under business value. So then if our information technology investments help us to improve the particular business value, which may be measured under different dimensions like customer value, the economic value of the business, the employee value for the business, stakeholder value, and so on. So then we can say that the particular investments are effective. So therefore, we have to identify and see whether our information system related investments help us to improve the efficiency of the business organization in relation to different dimensions identified here, and also whether it helps us to improve the effectiveness of the business organization in relation to different dimensions as highlighted here. Okay, now again, is there any question regarding the measurement of efficiency and measurement of effectiveness? Now these can be, now here you may be in a position to quantify the particular measurements and get some quantifiable value. If it is cost, you may be in a position to see how much of cost you incurred in the earlier process and how much you incur now. Time I mentioned, if it is lead time, how much of time you incurred earlier and how much you incur now. And here may be difficult again, but if it is the time that you measure, the time that you spend to access the specific information, and the time that you spend today to access same information. So then you can determine the difference between the earlier time and the new time. So therefore, you may be in a position to quantify these particular measurement, but here you may not be in a position to quantify them easily. Therefore, the measurements, the measurements can be subjective to some extent, but you should be in a position to determine whether the particular IT investments have supported in achieving these things for the organization. If we can, if you can satisfy that your IT investments or IS investments have helped or facilitated the organization to achieve or to support these areas, you can see that or you can determine that the particular investments are effective. Okay, is there any question regarding efficiency measurements and effectiveness measurements? The silence indicates understood or not understood at all.
Clear.
Clear. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. We'll move forward. Yeah. Then we are moving to challenges and ethics of IT. Now we are discussing under several topics or subtopics. One is potential harm, then is potential risks, and then possible responses. So we will start with potential harm. And when we now they can be the challenges for the organization, or also there can be some ethical issues involved there in utilizing information technology within the organization. Now, one thing is infringements on privacy. Well, that means some sort of violation of privacy. It may be related to employees, it may be related to customers, and so on. So it can happen because information is stored in databases, and we may misuse those information and affecting the individuals, so affecting the privacy of the particular individuals, because everyone values their privacy, but when their information are stored in the particular databases, the privacy can be affected. So there can be some unethical uses of the particular data or information that are stored there. Okay, so that is one thing, or that is basically not a challenge, basically that is related to ethics. There can be some unethical uses of data about employees and customers which are stored within the organizations. And also the inaccurate information. There can be inaccurate information stored in databases. The inaccuracy can happen at different places. One may be when you input data, you may input inaccurate data. It can be due to a mistake, but ultimately you have input inaccurate data and the system contains inaccurate data. So again, if you have not updated certain data in a periodic manner, which you have to update, then again your databases contain inaccurate information. So then ultimately you are making decisions based on those data that you have stored. If your data is inaccurate, can you make accurate decision making? You can't, because the inaccurate data will produce inaccurate information, and then you will base your decision on the particular inaccurate information, leading to inaccurate decision making. So therefore that is something that the organization will have to be concerned about. So it can be a challenge for the organization because data entry, mostly these things happen, and these things can happen at the data entry process. Now, if the data entry process is automated, so then maybe errors can be minimized. But if the data entered manually, so this can happen very, very frequently. Then collusion. Now, collusion is another challenge the organizations can face. Now, what is collusion? It indicates a situation where a particular specific employee or set of employees or couple of employees get together and then misuse the power that they have to do certain fraudulent activities because they have access to the system, and then they are in a position to misuse the particular system utilizing the authority that they have got. So it may not be recognized. There can be instances where such frauds or the fraudulent action that they take is not recognized easily. So they may be recognized only after some time. So by that time, the particular employees may have left the organization also. So therefore, collusion is a situation where the specific employee or a set of employees get together and misuse their power or misuse the authority that they have from the organization, that they have got from the organization to perform some fraudulent transactions. So therefore, these type of things happen, and privacy issues have happened. And I think you may also have become a victim of those things. And again, if it is inaccurate information, you may have some experience. Collusion, you may have experience. Can you come up with some examples for one of these three? Infringement on privacy or inaccurate information stored in your organization, collusion?
So very recently we heard about news that a very close employee or a personal assistant of the Prime Minister has stolen some money from the account. So it can be considered collusion, sir?
Yes, no, they have some. They have misused the power that they have got. No,
yes,
they may have given some sort of access, but yes, they have misused it. Yes, yes. Now, when it comes to privacy, suppose you may have stored your personal details in many social networks, and when those social networks are hacked, and your personal details will be stolen by those outsiders, and then they will sell those information to other parties or third parties for money. So then you may be in trouble in certain instances. Okay, shall we move? Inaccurate information also, I mentioned that it can, I think, trouble organizations if they have lots of inaccurate data in their databases. And potential risks the organizations can face. Now, they can be related to the earlier harmful activities, which we identified earlier. Now, customer boycotts. Now, suppose if their privacy has been violated, it may be due to hacking incident or something like that, or if the specific organization has sold the information that they possess to marketing companies or any other third-party company for money. So once the customers get to know about it, that their personal information have been sold by this particular company to a third party, then they may boycott it. And also if it is a commercial organization, suppose if it is a bank or any other popular e-commerce site where you have kept your personal data, and again due to a hacking incident, your personal data has been stolen and some of your funds have been taken, and some fraudulent transactions being performed after stealing those personal information, or it can be credit card information. So then what will happen is the customer will boycott such companies because they can't trust the particular company. So the trust has been broken. So thereafter the customer may not want to do transactions again with such companies. Then work stoppages, again, it can be the employees. So if some privacy violations have taken place in relation to employees, so they may stop work. And also it may be due to hacking incidents, and their systems have been hacked and systems have been damaged. So they can't conduct their operations. They can't do their day-to-day operations until their systems are installed and until their problems are rectified. So therefore, due to different type of incidents, they may have to stop running their systems. Then again, government intervention. So government may introduce new laws to protect the customers. So then, the organizations will have to abide or follow the particular rules or the laws implemented by the organization, by the government. Because the government may have identified that the companies misuse the personal information of customers very, very frequently. And customer privacy is violated thereby. So the government may introduce some privacy related laws. So then the organization will be compelled to follow the particular laws introduced by the government. And then possible responses here it says. Now, because of the particular risks or the harmful activities identified earlier, there can be some responses the organizations may come up with. What are they? One is code of ethics, or the introduction of code of ethics that should be followed, especially by the employees of the organization. So then they may introduce them. They may introduce the particular code of ethics, and again, if they don't follow, there can be certain repercussions for the employees if they don't follow. And the incentives here, it says they can give incentives for the employees who follow the particular code of ethics introduced by the organization. So therefore, the employees can be motivated to follow the new code of ethics, so which have been introduced in order to address some of the challenges or ethical issues the organization face. So then they can be motivated by paying some incentives. And also, we mentioned that customer may boycott, customer may not want to do transactions with certain organizations because they can't trust the particular companies, and they can go for some third-party certifications. Now, there are some third parties which offer certifications in relation to confirmation of security of the particular e-commerce sites and the privacy guidelines adopted by the particular e-commerce sites. So then the company can go for a third-party certification. Now there are different companies or well-reputed third-party companies offering these particular certifications. Now, if the customer can see the particular certification appearing on a particular website, so then they can trust the particular website in relation to the security of the particular website, and also in relation to the privacy regulations followed by the particular company. So therefore, that is one other thing. I think there are several certification companies like Komodo is one company, and DigiCert is another company, and I think GeoTrust is another company. Yeah, there are a couple of, I think, well-reputed companies offering GoDaddy. Yes, GoDaddy is another company. offering these third-party certifications. So we can purchase the particular third-party certification, but if we want to purchase the particular certification, we will have to follow the particular security and ethical guidelines proposed and implemented by them. Okay, so then that can what can we do with the particular certification? We can develop the trust, or we can build the trust of customers toward the particular company and toward the particular e-commerce site. Then the customers may be attracted to such websites more and more. Okay, now is there any question regarding these challenges and ethics of IT? Discuss under potential harm, potential risks and possible responses. It seems no question. Did you understand everything properly?
Yes, I understood.
Okay, thank you very much. So I think with that we can conclude our session for today. So I will meet you next week again at 8:30. And thank you very much for joining.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Recording stopped.